moment that we are currently passing through. Explore the charm of K-beauty, beauty on and off. We take to the streets to hear about daily beauty routines, get hands-on experience, and share honest reviews. A lively K-beauty expedition for both newbies and pros. Learn and experience K-beauty with two idol stars on a mission to find their own styles.
Introducing Korean broadcast content that you won't be able to stop watching. For weary modern souls, Dr. Romantic, the quirky genius doctor of Puldam Hospital, prescribes heartwarming tales of humanity. A couple together for 7 years sees their rose-tinted glasses shatter. Can they keep their relationship alive? Discover the raw stories of youth, work, and love. Beyond what social media can show, experience the vibrant Korea through its hidden gems. Mama, the ultimate K-pop festival for global fans. Find your star in a feast of trendy music and electrifying performances. Now, the whole world enjoys it together.
Vote counting for this year's local elections is nearly complete. Of the 60 metropolitan mayoral and gubernatorial races, the Democratic Party is projected to win 12, with the People Power Party expected to secure 4. Meanwhile, the ruling Democratic Party continues to hold a parliamentary majority, despite conservatives making gains in by-elections. Voter turnout for this election reached 61%, the second highest on record. This appears to reflect heightened political engagement, with progressive voters mobilized following former President Yoon's martial law and impeachment, and conservative voters casting their ballots to evaluate the current Lee administration. North Korea says leader Kim Jong-un visited a newly built nuclear material production facility, and that it has finalized plans to strengthen the regime's nuclear forces. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. A massive number of voters across Korea headed to the polls for this election yesterday, driving voter turnout to its highest level in decades. Our Park Jun-an has the details.
Following record-high early voting turnout last week, over 27.2 million people cast their ballots in Korea's June 3rd local elections, out of approximately 44.6 million eligible voters. That brings the final voter turnout to 61%. Not only is this a 10.1 percentage point jump from the previous local elections 4 years ago, but it's also the highest turnout since the first local elections in 1995, which saw 68.4%. Progressive voters were strongly mobilized following the then-President Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law and impeachment, while conservative voters cast their ballots to evaluate the current Lee Jae-myung administration and keep the majority party in check. By region, Jeonnam Gwangju United Special City saw the highest turnout at 65.7%, followed closely by Gangwon-do Province at 64.5% and Gyeongsang-namdo Province at 64.4%. The capital Seoul was above the national average at 63.6%. However, there were issues at 14 polling stations in Seoul, including in the Songpa-gu and Gangnam-do districts, where voting was paused due to a lack of ballot papers. At least one station in Songpa-gu district remained open until 10 p.m. as officials worked to address the problem. The National Election Commission's Secretary General Ho Chol-hoon issued a public apology for the confusion and pledged measures to prevent a recurrence. In response to the issue, the Blue House urged the National Election Commission, as the constitutional body responsible for protecting citizens' voting rights, to ensure there are no disruptions to voting or vote counting in affected areas. The Blue House added that it is closely monitoring the situation. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
With the votes now counted, results for 16 mayor and governor races are now in. In Seoul, it was a neck-and-neck race, eventually won by incumbent Mayor Oh Se-hoon, but strong results by the ruling Democratic Party elsewhere strengthened its overall position. Our political correspondent An Sung-jin breaks down the details.
After a fierce race between political parties, Korea's local elections came to an end. Of the 16 metropolitan and gubernatorial races, the ruling Democratic Party took over 12 regions, while the main opposition People Power Party won 4, marking a shift in the local political landscape from 4 years ago. Out of the key battlegrounds, Seoul came as a neck-and-neck race. After a razor-thin race that went down to the final stage of counting, Seoul mayor race concluded with the PPP's incumbent Mayor Oh Se-hoon becoming the capital's first 5-term mayor, as his DP opponent conceded.
I humbly accept the voters' verdict. I fell short, and I take full responsibility.
Voters have reaffirmed the principle of checks and balances, safeguarding Seoul's democracy.
Looking at other key battlegrounds, the DP's Jeon Jae-soo secured Busan over the PPP's incumbent Mayor Park Hyung-jun. Have a listen to his victory speech.
As mayor, I will work even harder to earn the trust and support of Busan residents for the Democratic Party to get the city moving again.
The PPP secured 4 regions, with Daegu, which had initially projected a close result during the exit polls, seeing the conservatives maintain their grip on the city, with the PPP's Chu Kyung-ho defeating the DP's Kim Bu-kyung.
I believe this outcome may reflect voters' desire for Daegu to serve as a greater check and balance to counterweight the Democratic Party government.
With wins in the majority of areas, the overall outcome strengthens the ruling DP's grip on power from the national level down to local governments. For the PPP, who had campaigned on a message of holding the government accountable, defeat in many swing regions is likely to spark debate over responsibility and the party's future direction. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
And a series of by-elections that could shape the government's legislative agenda has reinforced the Democratic Party's hold on Korea's parliament, as voters largely stuck with the ruling camp. Our Bunyeon has the details.
Korea's ruling Democratic Party has emerged from a nationwide vote with its parliamentary majority intact, holding off a conservative challenge in a series of by-elections held across the country. The Democratic Party won 9 of 14 seats up for grabs, while the Conservative People Power Party took 4, and 1 went to an independent. The results reinforce the Democratic Party's dominant position in the National Assembly, where it already holds an absolute majority. The most closely watched race was in Busan's northern Pukgu district, where Han Dong-un, a former leader of the People Power Party who ran as an independent, secured a narrow victory.
I sincerely thank the people of Pukgu for this historic victory and for helping open the door to the district's future and the rebuilding of conservatism.
Han's win is seen as significant. It keeps him in national politics and raises questions about the future direction of Korea's fractured conservative camp, which has been in turmoil since the short-lived declaration of martial law by former President Yoon Suk-yeol. In Incheon's Gyeongbi district, long considered the Democratic Party's stronghold, the party's candidate Kim Nam-jun won comfortably.
With your support behind us, I will make sure President Lee delivers on the promises he made. I said it throughout the campaign, and I'm committed to seeing them through.
The seat had fallen vacant after President Lee Jae-myung, who had represented the constituency, won last year's presidential election. Kim, a former presidential spokesman, pledged to carry forward the president's agenda for the area, including transport infrastructure improvements. Kyang-bi has returned a Democratic Party representative in 7 of the last 8 parliamentary elections. Perhaps the most dramatic result of the night came from Pyeongtaek-bi in Gyeonggi-do Province, where People Power Party veteran Lee Dong defeated both the Democratic Party's candidate and Cho-guk, the leader of the smaller Progressive Rebuilding Korea Party, in a 3-way race.
I'd like to once again express my sincere gratitude to the people of Pyeongtaek for allowing me to serve in this role.
Cho's defeat is a significant blow to his party and is expected to complicate ongoing merger talks between the Rebuilding Korea Party and the Democratic Party. Overall, the by-election results mean the Democratic Party and its allies have more than 180 seats in the 300-seat National Assembly, enough to fast-track legislation and override filibusters, ensuring the ruling party retains firm control of the legislative agenda. Min Hye-ryun, Arirang News.
1 year after President Lee Jae-myung took office, pledging pragmatic diplomacy, Korea is drawing growing attention as countries look for partners that can navigate an increasingly divided world. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young talked to a prominent scholar on Korean geopolitics.
1 year into President Lee Jae-myung's pragmatic diplomacy, there is growing demand for Korea's partnership in an increasingly divided world. That's according to Arnold Levaux, president of Paris-based Asia Center. Under the Lee administration, pragmatic diplomacy has meant pursuing national interests through practical cooperation while broadening Korea's diplomatic options in an increasingly fragmented world.
The key word is adaptation. President Lee inherited a very difficult international environment. The rivalry between the United States and China continues to intensify. Conflict in Europe, like in Ukraine and in the Middle East, Iran, and the Red Sea are affecting global stability.
Over the past year, Seoul has kept close coordination with Washington and Tokyo while expanding engagement with Europe, India, Africa, and other emerging partners. Levaux says that makes Korea valuable to countries looking for more flexible forms of cooperation.
Middle powers do not want to be forced into binary choices. They want to maintain strong alliances while preserving enough autonomy to defend their own interest. The second challenge is economic security. For decades, globalization was mostly about efficiency. Today, it's also about resilience. Many countries today are looking for alternatives to rigid bloc politics. They want flexible partnerships, focus on practical cooperation. And Korea is particularly well positioned to play this role.
President Lee made his diplomatic debut at last year's Group of 7 summit in Canada soon after taking office, and has also been invited this year to the leaders' meeting in France. With that, Levaux says Korea will be expected to bring more than symbolic participation.
This invitation is not only for protocol, it's not for pictures, it's not for etiquette. It's because we believe that Korea can really contribute to the global governance. And we're expecting President Lee to have some concrete proposals. Korea is increasingly present in international debates on security, technology, and governance. I will say that the world already sees Korea as a global actor, while maybe Korea do not perceive itself as a global actor yet. So the question should be how Korea can use this growing influence.
As Lee enters his second year in office, Levaux says the question is no longer only whether Korea has a seat at the table of global governance, but what it makes of it. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says Pyongyang has finalized a sweeping plan to exponentially strengthen its nuclear forces and expand its stockpile of nuclear weapons. His remarks came during a visit to a newly launched nuclear material production facility, where he also unveiled plans for a new 5-year nuclear development strategy. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has visited a newly launched nuclear material production facility and announced that Pyongyang has finalized plans to strengthen its nuclear forces exponentially. According to the Korean Central News Agency on Thursday, Kim inspected the facility alongside senior ruling party officials, although its location was not disclosed. During the visit, Kim claimed North Korea's capacity to produce weapons-grade nuclear material has more than doubled over the past 5 years under the guidance of the ruling Workers' Party. He praised efforts to implement key party decisions and reaffirmed the North's commitment to expanding its nuclear deterrent both quantitatively and qualitatively. Kim said the growing security environment requires North Korea to accelerate the development of its nuclear capacities. The North Korean leader also revealed that the upcoming 9th Party Congress will adopt a new 5-year plan aimed at further strengthening the nation's nuclear forces. According to Kim, the strategy includes expanding nuclear material production capacity and continuing to increase the number of nuclear weapons in line with decisions already made by the leadership. Emphasizing what he described as North Korea's prolonged confrontation with hostile forces, Kim argued that nuclear weapons remain the fundamental guarantee of the country's sovereignty, security, and right to development. State media also reported that an important consultative meeting on strengthening the nation's nuclear forces was held during the visit. Kim delivered policy guidance on future nuclear activities, saying both tactical and strategic requirements had been fully considered in shaping the country's deterrent strategy. He added that authorities have finalized implementation measures for what he called a massive plan to dramatically expand North Korea's nuclear capabilities, describing the initiative as a historic turning point that will elevate the country's nuclear forces to a new level. Kim concluded by pledging that North Korea would continue to strengthen its ability to defend its constitution, sovereignty, and national security in the years ahead. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, following the U.S. Trade Representative's imposition of additional tariffs on 54 countries, including South Korea, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Wednesday that Seoul's regulatory treatment of American tech firms is negatively affecting trade relations. In response, the Blue House said it will respond to the USTR's 12.5% tariff by submitting written opinions and attending public hearings. It added that the government had been maintaining close communication with the United States and will make every effort to ensure that the balance of interests in existing bilateral tariff agreements is not compromised. The move comes after the USTR concluded that Seoul failed to effectively block imports of goods produced through forced labor and is considered a part of Washington's alternative trade strategy after a recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling invalidated reciprocal tariffs. The OECD has significantly upgraded Korea's growth outlook, citing strong semiconductor demand. The forecast was raised to 2.6%, with further upside movement seen if demand continues to strengthen. Our Kim Jun-ong has the details.
The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has sharply raised its growth outlook for the Korean economy to 2.6% this year. In a report released Wednesday, the organization raised the growth forecast for this year by 0.9 percentage points from March, marking the largest upward revision among G20 economies after previously lowering its outlook amid the Middle East conflict. Growth for next year, however, was projected at 1.9%, down 0.2 percentage points from the previous forecast. Semiconductors were pointed to as key drivers behind Korea's stronger outlook. The OECD said growth could exceed projections if demand for advanced chips strengthens further. It also cited solid export growth and chip-led investment, while consumer spending is expected to gradually recover with fiscal support. Yet supply disruptions tied to the Middle East conflict, labor disputes, and export restrictions were pointed out as downside risks. The Consumer Price Index for this year was also revised to 2.6%, down 0.1 percentage point. Inflation is expected to ease to 2.2% next year, with the OECD saying it is falling back to the Bank of Korea's target level. The organization also said government-led measures, including price caps and fuel tax cuts, are likely to help cushion inflationary pressure caused by energy supply disruptions. Global growth is forecast at 2.8% this year and 3.1% next year, as the OECD warned of pressure from rising energy prices and trade disruptions linked to the Strait of Hormuz. Kim Junong, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. Lebanon and Israel have agreed to implement a ceasefire following U.S.-facilitated talks in Washington. The U.S. State Department released a joint statement from all three parties on Wednesday. The agreement requires a complete halt to Hezbollah fire and the withdrawal of all its operatives from south of the Litani River. The two sides had reached a similar ceasefire understanding last month, but fighting continued. Iran has said it will not agree to a broader deal with the United States unless the Lebanon ceasefire holds. Both sides agreed to further direct talks to resolve outstanding issues. An Iranian drone attack on Kuwait's main airport killed one person and wounded at least 60 others on Wednesday, damaging a passenger terminal that had only reopened from the war 2 days earlier. Kuwait expelled 2 Iranian diplomats and said it would neither accept nor tolerate the strikes. Iran denied responsibility, claiming the damage came from a failed U.S. interceptor, a claim U.S. military officials rejected. Washington launched retaliatory strikes on an Iranian military facility on Qeshm Island in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. also intercepted missiles aimed at Bahrain, home to the Navy's Fifth Fleet. In India, a fire tore through a mixed-use building in southern New Delhi on Wednesday, killing at least 21 people, including foreign nationals who had come to India for medical treatment. The building housed a restaurant on the ground floor and a hotel above in the densely populated Malviya Nagar neighborhood. 8 fire engines responded and more than 40 survivors were pulled to safety. Bystanders joined rescue efforts, helping carry injured people from the building as flames and smoke swept through upper floors. The cause of the fire has not been established. In Japan, a bear roaming through Fukushima on Tuesday injured 4 people across a steelworks compound and a nearby residential street. It's the latest in a series of bear attacks that have alarmed communities across northeastern Japan. Security camera footage showed the animal throwing a worker to the ground before moving deeper into the facility and injuring a second employee. An elderly woman in her 80s was later attacked nearby. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Scattered showers and thunderstorms are expected to develop nationwide, with some parts could see very heavy rain in a short amount of time. Many regions could see the sudden downpours of 5 to 80 millimeters, along with thunderstorms and strong winds. Then the heat is finally cooling off a bit after several days of intense heat. But that muggy, about to rain air will feel more uncomfortable than the dry heat. And this afternoon, Seoul and Gwangju will be getting up to 28 degrees, Daegu topping out at 29 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, Gyeongsangdo provinces will be under mostly sunny skies all day. Then there is a chance that central regions might see spotty rain after midnight before skies gradually improve later in the day.
Now that's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.